Hello and welcome to the C3 Method podcast. Today we're going to discuss what is the right advice for you. When we consider nutrition advice, it's helpful for us to consider whether that advice is actually for us. When I went to school to get my master's in nutrition, before I went to do that, I really fell in love with physical exercise, with nutrition to change my aesthetics, to get myself stronger. I had the goal at 15 years old to lose body fat, build muscle, and my dream would be to be like Arnold Schwarzenegger and become a bodybuilder. So I was really into aesthetic nutrition, and then that correlated with performance nutrition. If I performed better in my workouts, I could then look better. So those were the lenses I was looking through when I would consider nutrition. I started helping friends and family when I was 16, and I became a certified trainer at 18 and was doing that part-time all the way through school, all the way till when I eventually opened my own gym, and what I'm doing now. So I'm 42 and I've been doing this since I was 16 years old. Now, when I decided on what I would want to go to school for, when I grew up, it was kind of before internet, so there was no such thing as online coaching. And in-person personal training was seen more as something some college kids would do, in the summer or as a side job. It wasn't seen as a career. So when I was deciding what to do for my career, I decided on health and physical education. I went through, got that degree. However, I didn't really like the paperwork aspect, and although I enjoyed teaching, it wasn't the content I liked to teach. I like to teach exercise, nutrition, not so much sports and all the other crazy things that health and PE teachers have to do. I then decided to go to get my master's in nutrition so I could learn even more about nutrition. And again, I was thinking through the lens of aesthetics and performance. However, when I went to get my master's in nutrition, I went through the registered dietitian program. I found out that that was not the case. There were 0 classes, absolutely 0, on aesthetic nutrition. There was one 3-credit class on performance nutrition, and it was aerobic focused, not really anaerobic or lifting weights focused. There was a small subsection in that class about anaerobic fitness, but it wasn't even the main focus. The entire rest of the degree was on health-based nutrition. So I was very disappointed. I learned a lot of great background and formal education on how nutrition works in our body, how we can maintain health, do all the healthy, good, fun stuff, all the good things about food. But I really wanted to know performance nutrition and aesthetic nutrition. And it was quite disappointing to learn that registered dietitians aren't taught that in their schooling. And so that was just kind of a bummer. I actually ended up graduating with 2 of my professors as clients and a couple classmates as clients because I did know about aesthetic nutrition. And even though they were registered dietitians and the teachers were the teachers of the registered dietitian program, they didn't know aesthetic nutrition. It wasn't taught. So that was interesting to me that when I finished my master's, that I had this really awesome degree in nutrition, but it wasn't the aspects of nutrition that I really wanted to know, and it wasn't the aspects of nutrition that my clients wanted to know. Yes, everybody wants to be healthy. That is important. I'm not saying it's not important. It is. And that's the foundation of all advice that I give for aesthetic and performance nutrition. I don't want those elements without health considered. So it is absolutely important. It's absolutely the foundation, but it wasn't the entirety of what I wanted to know. So when I talk to clients, I look at nutrition through 3 lenses. There's health nutrition, aesthetic nutrition, and performance nutrition. What's fun about aesthetic and performance is they do help each other. So if I have a performance athlete, we do consider aesthetics because there might be an optimal body fat percentage that allows them to perform best. It's not always the leanest the best. Some of the Olympic level swimmers I've worked with, we've needed to maintain a higher percentage of body fat so that way they have the right buoyancy in the water. It's really cool stuff. There's a whole bunch of other ones. I don't want to get too lost though. But it isn't always the leanest is the best. But there is often an optimal range of body fat So understanding aesthetic nutrition, which helps you control body fat more so than just performance nutrition, the blend there is really awesome. And then for all of my aesthetic athletes, performance is absolutely a must. How they perform in the gym dictates the stimulus that they're able to create in their training, and that dictates the degree of progress we make in aesthetics. So for me, it's really cool to know all three, and in my opinion, they're a must. In order for me to be the best at my job, I'm going to need to know all three of those. Then what I found interesting is, as I've navigated through the years, I have personal trainers as clients. Over half of our clients are personal trainers, registered dietitians as clients, and I'm a consultant for weight loss clinics and diet, like doctors who deal with weight loss, body fat control, like bariatric surgeons, those type of professions. So it's been interesting to see that even though those areas, registered dietitians, doctors, they have the ability, like especially doctors, they have the ability to prescribe like GLPs, for example, but they're not educated on them in the sense of how they impact our aesthetics or performance. They're educated on the health implications, but not necessarily how someone's going to feel or how someone's going to look. There are educational components when you're looking at GLPs, for example. There's educational components about how to maintain muscle mass, sure, and that has something to do with aesthetics, but that's actually still looking through a lens of health. So it's fun to, in my opinion, consider that these are three different areas of nutrition, because you will find people who are an expert in health nutrition, but they are not well educated or experienced with performance and aesthetic nutrition. When you think of health nutrition, that's going to be registered dietitians. Doctors really don't have health nutrition. They might have like 1 3-credit class, maybe 2 3-credit classes in their entire schooling about nutrition. They're not experts in nutrition, even though they're often asked for nutrition advice. And all the doctors that I'm aware of, they try their best to give the best advice, but it isn't their area of expertise. So you think of registered dietitians. When you think of performance nutrition, there are some certifications that are performance-based, like accredited certification programs that people can get. And sometimes you need to have a certain background, like a degree related to health and or exercise. Some certifications, you don't need any kind of background. You just take their program and you're good to go. And then there's really none on aesthetic nutrition. That I'm sure there's probably something out there, but I'm not aware of any. And to me, that's the largest gap in nutrition advice, is aesthetic nutrition. The certification program that we're running, that I currently run, the C3 Method Nutrition Coaching System, we do cover all three because, why would I not if I know all this? And I believe in the importance of it. So everybody I take through our coaching system, which is personal trainers, physical therapists, massage therapists, we've done a whole bunch, like wellness clinics. We've done a lot at this point, which is super duper fun. I love it. It's really fun. And that we do cover the health nutrition, we cover performance and aesthetics, because all three of them are important. And that way, the people who go through our certification program don't have the gaps that everybody else has. It's a way for them to stand above the rest, that kind of approach. Now, when you think of who should you get advice from, or how do you know if the advice you're hearing is best for you? There are 2 questions that I encourage my clients to consider whenever they're considering what advice to consider. Number 1 is, what is the background of the resource that you're getting the advice from? If they're a doctor, they don't have a nutrition-focused educational background. It's not like their area of expertise. It's related, but it's not their area of expertise. And they're going to be telling you health-based nutrition. Think of a registered dietitian, same thing. It's going to be health-based nutrition. If you get from a magazine, which no one reads magazines anymore, so let's go with a website. What's the focus of the website? If the website is focused on health, like it's WebMD, it's probably going to be health-based advice. So therefore, it's not looking through the lens of performance or aesthetics. If it's a performance-based site, if they don't have the author listed, then you're just taking a big fat guess that it's going to be performance-based advice, but you don't really know if you don't know who the author is or what the background of the author is. So that's one thing I would consider is, who am I getting the advice from? That's going to help me understand the lens that they're looking at. Are they looking at it from a health-based lens, or do they also know how to look at it from a performance or aesthetic-based? So we said that health-based is registered dietitians, doctors for the most part. Then performance-based would be somebody with a specific certification for performance. And then aesthetics, really, I mean, you're hoping this person has some kind of personal journey with aesthetic nutrition and that they've worked with hundreds, hopefully, or thousands of people, lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of other people. That's going to be the best person to look for aesthetic nutrition. It's unfortunate that there isn't like an aesthetic nutrition degree or an aesthetic nutrition focused certification. There will be, hopefully, as C3 method grows. That would be the closest thing. But when you're getting advice from somebody, if there's no one's going to have formal education on aesthetics. So you're looking at experiential. What's their personal experience? And then how many people have they helped? And in what ways have they helped them? So for myself, I have my own journey. I started my journey at 165 pounds, skinny fat, fat rolls around my waist. Definitely didn't look great. I would have been way over 20% body fat. Now I'm 250 pounds, so I've been as heavy as 300 pounds at 18% body fat. So I've gained over 100 pounds at a lower body fat percentage than I had at 165, but I'm now leaning back out. And right now I'm around 11-12% the last time I did a DEXA scan, which has some standard of error, but it gives you a ballpark. 11-12% body fat at 250 pounds. So I've made pretty damn good, if I can say so myself, progress on my own aesthetics. But I've also worked with over 3,000 clients. I have all their names saved in my computer. I have all the programs and everything I've ever given to them. So I've worked with over 3,000 people from every background you can imagine. I've had clients as young as middle school all the way up to mid-70s, early 80s, and everything in between. People from normal people looking to lose weight and feel better and look better, all the way to aesthetic professionals, IFBB Natural Pro Cards, sport professionals, strength-based professionals. I've worked with everybody under the sun that you can think of, which is really fun. Huge blessing. If you go to our Instagram channel, C3 method, 3 spelled out THREE, so CTHREE method, you can go there, and in the middle pinned image, we have a list of all the client backgrounds that I've worked with, which has been super duper fun. Now, that's a lot of history. It's rare that you're going to find somebody that's had that good of progress on their own, plus even just 500 plus clients, let alone 3,000 plus. But that's the type of people you would want to look for when you're considering who do I listen to for advice, is especially aesthetic-based advice, is what is their aesthetic-based experience. If they've done it just for themselves, okay, that's something. But if they haven't helped others, it's not really a lot of something. So we would like to have somebody who's made really good progress on their own and helped hundreds of other people. They would be the better people to listen to when you're considering aesthetic nutrition advice. When you think of performance nutrition advice, same thing. What's their personal experience? How many people have they worked with? What are the experience levels of the people they've worked with? And then you could say, okay, well, what are their certifications or education that would be nutrition based? Do they have a performance-specific nutrition background? Do they have a formal, more, college, university degree type background? And then health, you're definitely going to look for somebody with a registered dietitian or master's in nutrition, some type of good, solid foundation of formal education. So that would be the first question to consider, is what is the background and or experience of the person giving the advice? The second question to consider is, how much do they know about you? That's actually really important, because the advice that you're getting, the more specific it is to your needs, your situation, your goals, everything about you, the better that advice is going to be. The first thing I do when somebody asks me for advice is I ask them questions. I want to get to know more about them, so that way I can give better advice. Even when I do public speaking engagements, if somebody asks me a question and it has just a feel of generality to it, I might ask them some clarifying questions. If I'm talking to a sports group, like I did a group recently with wrestlers, I have a pretty good idea of what lens they're looking at. If they're asking me questions, it probably has to do with wrestling. But if I'm in a general population, like I've done general population public speaking, say at churches or community events or workplaces, and somebody asks, a question about food, I might say, well, what's your goal with that? Like, are you trying to lose fat? Are you trying to build muscle? They would then say, maybe they're like, oh yeah, I want to lose, 15 pounds. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, blah, 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 blah. And then I would give the advice based on them losing weight as the goal of what their intent of that question is. So the more somebody knows about you, the better that advice is going to be. Those are the two main questions we would consider when trying to figure out if the advice that you're considering to implement or take or accept is right for you. Is what is the background of the person giving the advice? And how much do they know about you? The more specific the answers, the more robust those answers can be, the better the advice is going to be. So the more formal education, the more personal experience and experience with others they have, then that's going to answer that first question. That's going to make sure that they have a pretty good background. The more you have of evidence to that answer, probably the better advice is going to be. How much they know about you. If they don't know anything about you and it's just something you're reading offline that anybody else in the world can read, might not be that best of advice. If it's something that they do know something personal about you, context, if it's a website for runners, it's probably going to be for runners. Again, that's an assumption, but about as safe as an assumption as you're going to get for assumptions is, okay, they at least think you're a runner, so they know that about you. So that would be some context to consider, is how much they know about me, either through the channel in which I'm getting the information, or do they actually ask any questions? Am I able to talk to this person, face to face, virtually face to face, whatever, how much they know about me. The more they know about you, probably the better the advice is going to be. So those are the two considerations I even make when I'm considering advice for myself, is what is this person's background? How much they know about me? The more I can understand the answers to those two questions, the more I'll be able to understand if that advice is best for me. And that would work for you as well. Awesome. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of context to consider the next time you're considering what advice to actually implement and listen to and put into your life. If you have any questions, just let me know. Whatever platform you're watching or listening this on, you can just put in some questions there, or you can always reach out to us on our website, c3method.com. And then if you're interested in our nutrition coaching system, it's for anybody. If you're a personal trainer, physical therapist, massage therapist, GLP clinic, wellness clinic, anybody who deals with people in some health-related service, adding nutrition to that is probably going to be very helpful and actually benefit the effectiveness of your service. And then even if you're just a regular person who wants to learn more about nutrition and maybe get into personal training or helping friends and family, you can reach out to us as well. I'll tell you all about that system, everything that's included. We do go through how to set up nutrition programs safely for people, effectively for people, how to progress those over time. And then we even teach you how to market it, how to price it, all the good stuff. And you get, when you're done with 3 months of support, it's actually one chunk of learning. The learning portion usually takes about 4 hours via virtual education. That's basically just you and I, and we're discussing things for 4 hours. So we chunk that up however we need to in our schedules. And then you have 3 months of support from me to answer any and all questions as you implement that coaching system with your customers, clients, friends, family, whoever you want to work with. You have 3 months access to me, and then at the end of the 3 months, if everything went well, you're happy, I'm happy, then you get the certification, and then we're good to go. So it's a really cool process. I am absolutely loving it. The people I've worked with have expressed that it's amazing. Usually certifications are you read a book, you take an exam, and then you're done. This is one-on-one interaction with your coach, somebody who's going to help you answer any and all questions for 3 full months. This is the only certification program I'm aware of that offers that. So I just thought to myself, is what would I want a certification program to have? What would I want it to include? How would I want to be supported? And then I just offered that. So if you're interested, go to our website, www.c3method.com. Okay, that's everything. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for listening. I hope that this was helpful.